Sean here. Welcome back to another vlog. I'm at Cafe Amazon today. Apparently, I just like to spill coffee all over myself, so I sat down on a table that was a little wonky, and half my espresso is now in my napkin. So, oh, lordy. Another leisurely, relaxing day. I don't know. I have things I need to do this evening. So after last night, I got home, rested, and I got a decent sleep, and got up this morning, did my thing, and then I was like, went back to bed. Just for whatever reason, the last little while I've been tired. Here's the thing: I normally don't get a whole lot of sleep, so anytime that my body says, "Hey, shut up, get some sleep," I'm going to listen to it. So, I don't know if it's just that the weather systems have changed back, so it's been getting hot. We went from really dry, like my nose was like getting crusty on the inside just when it gets dry, being like, and I don't know if it happens to you guys, but for me, when it gets really dry, when I breathe in and it's dry, it almost smells metallic, and I think it's because it's like the blood is like dried up inside my nose. But yeah, whatever reason, the last couple of days been exceptionally tired. So taking it easy. Got a dinner thing planned this evening. Alan and Dean have invited me over for dinner. They're cooking, so I'm excited for that. That'll be fun. But I wanted to come up for coffee and have a discussion that I've been talking about for a while, which is my thoughts on AI. So, not going to be for everybody, but it is my little take on it. I've been around computers and the industry since the 70s. My dad used to sell mainframe computers, so I've been around systems. I've seen transitions. I've seen a lot of trends. I know a lot of folks are really worried and nervous about AI, and I'm not. I think the only people that should be really truly worried about AI are the corporate elites that are messing with it currently, because I don't think they have any fucking clue what they're doing. So just to kind of break out the mold and understand a little bit of it, this is math. That's all it is. It's a language. It's a large language model. They feed it information, and it's just a mathematical. It's like data aggregate. So you feed it a bunch of information, and it kind of correlates it, and it sees trends and goes, bloop, here's my answer. Using it to create, art, music, and stuff, that's just a gimmick. It's a toy. I get what they're doing. But right now, the big push is to basically use AI in a corporate structure to get rid of people and to get rid of their jobs. That's the flaw. And that's the one thing we should worry about. Worrying about a Skynet type of thing, I can't see that happening. But again, if it's going to happen, corporate structure is stupid enough to actually allow for that thing to happen. But I don't think AI is going to be capable of doing what we've been worried about for years. The big scare is always the big scare. They always do weird stuff in movies to kind of freak us out, and it never pans out. So, the current model that they're doing is basically just they've mined data, and a lot of it comes from like Meta, Facebook, and Reddit, and sources where basically the dregs of humanity like to congregate and shitpost. So we have an issue right now where AI has been hallucinating, and that's where you get erroneous information. Case in point, this past summer, a author put together a article of the top summer reads for the summer and published it, and they made it into a bunch of publications. Unfortunately, neither the author nor the editors did any fact checking, because the author had used ChatGPT and asked for a list of the top summer reads, and in typical fashion, because of the hallucinations, it came up with proper authors, but fictional books that had never been created. So 10 of the 15 of that list were apparently fake. And so this is what we've come down to, is where people are using a tool to expedite processes, make things easier. but not wanting to work. They're doing exactly what they claim that most people want to do, is not to work. And it's silly. So that's the stupidity of using the AI. And it's coming, like you said, like videos and music, where it's just creating a whole bunch of things. Like about 5-6 years ago, there was that thing of Will Smith eating noodles, and it looked so foreign that it was like, yeah, I can see AI. I'm never gonna have to worry about it. Now it looks, there's still a bit of what I call the uncanny valley, and that's where things look a little off, like the mouth doesn't move properly, or the eyes don't reflect properly, so it still is a disconnect. But that's just the current state, and that's because the way that we're building AI is inherently flawed, in my opinion. So my take on AI and the whole thing is different, but this is me, and I like to think outside the box. My whole life I have been paying attention to the paranormal and, different types of things. And people have for years, they call it like prophecy, or a lot of times like Edgar Cayce would kind of get into a meditative state. In that meditative state, he would have access to a library of information that he could project the question he had. So a lot of times Edgar Cayce would do is somebody would say that they had a medical ailment, like there was something going wrong. He would go into the trance state, go into this thing, discuss what he needed, what the issue was, and he'd come back with a cure or a suggestion. And it was from this library of knowledge. And this library of knowledge, it's throughout history there's a repository of universal knowledge. So, also if you look, things get invented at the same time. So you'll have like 4 or 5 people working on the telephone, the TV, the computer, like all these things are like, it's like everything kind of happens when it happens. Like it was predetermined that this is when it was going to happen, or that the collective consciousness is at a point where that kind of idea has now come to the surface. So somebody's going to come up with it. Like again, I don't know if it's predestination or just random happenstance, but I think that there is a bit of an underlying current of things. And a lot of times you'll listen to artists or to authors, and they say, "Hey, where'd you come up with that book, or where did you come up with that song?" It just came to me. It was like a flash of instant, like it was a flash of like, oh my God, where'd that come from? And it's like catching lightning in a bottle. You can never do it again. So, but in some religions, there is a trance state that they get into where they can access this repository of knowledge. So to me, AI is a mechanical way to connect to that. And I think the issue we're having with it and why we're getting so many erroneous things is because of the fact that we are in the infant stages of being able to connect. So if the beginning of the internet, we had like telephone connections. So we had like a 9600 baud modem. Now we've got fiber. So the data that I was collecting when I was in high school in 1985 took forever to get anything. I remember downloading MP3s back in the LimeWire days. It would be like hours to get one song. And inevitably it was the wrong song because, people were crappy and, they'd label it as the song I wanted, and it would be something completely different. And you wonder why I think AI is being built on our knowledge is flawed. But accessing data through the data that we providing it is what I'm thinking is going to be causing these issues. So when we have these instances where we ask a question to AI and it comes up with something that's absolutely 100% false, we're calling this a hallucination. But there has to be a reason for that hallucination. And I think that reason is because the disconnect between what we believe in reality and what we've posted online, AI is still trying to figure out what is real for us and what is real online. That hallucination is bad error. It's errors. Like it's, instead of ones and zeros in the right order, it's flipping them around. And it's basically causing like a psychotic break in the intelligence because it's trying to extrapolate the data, but the data we've given it is flawed. And that's why we're having these issues. Because again, I don't think that AI in its current state is actual intelligence. I think it is a repository of information that it's being able to collate and collect things from. And that's it. That's what mathematics is doing for it. But I think that if instead of creating AI based upon these large repositories of data that is garbage, because I'm sorry, I don't think of Reddit as a bastion of humanity. I call it the cesspool. I dip my toes in it, and it's just a bunch of idiots the majority of the time. There are people that are helpful, trust me, but there's also a large group of people that just like to be jerks. And just like I've got anonymity online, I'm just going to say stupid shit and put it in there, and nobody's going to be able to do anything because I'm behind my computer and nobody can see me. La 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 la. Well, that kind of garbage is just that. It's garbage. But if we, in turn, took actual information and fed it into AI, we would have more pure source and we would have less hallucinations, in my opinion. But again, what we run into issues with is what is fact and what is fantasy. Even what we have in our current history, there's a disconnect between fact and fantasy. And I've witnessed it here myself. So just as a child growing up living in the West, Canada, United States, the Vietnam War was always called that, the Vietnam War. It was where the war was fought. And it was always, we lost the Vietnam War. That's everything I've heard. Then I came over here and I visited Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, for the first time. And I'm in one of the museums, and it was labeled the American War that they won. And it's that disconnect is like you could feed that same bit of information into AI. One was a winning war called the American War, and one was a losing war called the Vietnam War. Same importance in history, but because of whoever is talking about it, you're going to get a different story. There are multiple times in history where things that have happened and what has been written about what has happened is not necessarily the same correlation. Even just, you can have 10 people witness the exact same thing and ask their opinions of what happened. You're going to get 10 completely different stories. So our own reality is really flexible and weird as it is. So, because it's just how we are. We perceive things with our eyes, and we process data differently. So, am I afraid of AI? Nope, I don't. I don't have any fear of it. I think that if it ever comes down to, as I mentioned earlier, I'll backtrack a little bit. I think the only ones that should be afraid of AI right now are the current CEOs and billionaires that are investing all this capital, all this money, and all this hype. This has been a continual thing in the past 15 years of this hype machine when it comes to technology. And these idiots, I'm going to call them, hype the same thing. The hype of Bitcoin a few years back. As a person that is a consumer of electronics and computers, well, that Bitcoin thing ruined the gaming industry for us because they bought up all the video cards because of the hype. So every video card was bought up, like, I'm buying all, and you use those because, again, you're using it for mathematics because you're going through and you're solving a problem so you could get a coin. And then once you had that coin, you had the money. And so the problem is that there were so many people buying so many of these cards that were meant for the regular consumers to play video games or to do graphics or to do video editing. We all use it for the same thing. They're tools. They are necessary for my day-to-day business, but they were being bought up. So that over and super inflated the price of the video card industry. So we went from a $200 video card to a $500 video card on the black market. And then when the bubble crashed for Bitcoin, and then all those cards were like, well, they're worthless now. They hit the market and they super saturated things. But luckily for us is that a lot of those cards were not well maintained and were not they were not valid to be purchased by folks. So, and then some people bought really good deals on them. But when you use a card at 99% for a year, it's going to start to fail quicker. So, and that's what people have been seeing is like these cards that they bought secondhand are now dying. And now because of the AI bubble, memory prices are just, and that's not just for like DDR5, which is used, or DDR4 and 5, which are used in computers. It's in your cars, it's in your smartphones, it's everything. Memory is everywhere. And right now, the AI bros, we had the crypto bros, now I've got the AI bros that are like buying up all of it. And the corporations that manufacture the RAM, there's only a few of them that make it. And they have been in the past known, because there was a lawsuit and they were fined and they had colluded amongst each other to overinflate the price of RAM illegally. And so they got caught, they got screwed over. And now that this is happening, they see a market for them to hyperinflate prices again, but there's a valid reason for it because so much are being bought. Even today, just got notification that one of the companies that manufactures Crucial RAM, they're shutting down because Micron is the company behind it. The memory that they create, well, they can sell that to the AI bros at a super inflated price because they're going to pay it because they need it for the AI data centers. And so a whole section is gone. NVIDIA, company that manufactures video cards. For years, when they manufactured the chip for the video card, they were sending it out to the companies to manufacture the card. So they create the processor or the GPU, and then they will send it off to like Gigabyte, MSI, Asus, and they'll send them off to them with the chip, the RAM, and here's your specs, and here's the design for the board. Do your thing. So it always came bundled with the RAM because they wanted to have consistency. Plus, NVIDIA could purchase in large quantities, get a decent price that they could then ship it off. They would never give that. The reflection of the price never came down to the board partners, but NVIDIA got to make more money. But now they've just decided that they're scrapping RAM. They're not going to send it out. The problem with that is that RAM is scarce right now. And because of that scarcity, there's going to be companies that will not be able to manufacture video cards at all because they cannot get the RAM. If they haven't already purchased it in a few months ago and they have a stockpile of it, they're going to be okay. But how long that's going to last, nobody has any idea, and that's a problem. So we've got this again, another super hyper inflated thing. It's a tech thing. AI is the new thing. Well, the crack's already starting to show in that, and the AI bubble is starting to weaken. But these guys, these AI bros, they're investing all this money into it because they see data as a way of more manipulation and a way to control things better. Like already they're replacing jobs. Like if you are in the job market, most of the jobs that are remote now are going to be AI training. It's like whatever your skill set was before, now you have to utilize that to train AI. The jobs are going to become limited. So that side of AI is a problem, but that's only because of the fact that it's short-sightedness on the corporate side. Always has been, always will be. They're fucking idiots when it comes to things. What's going to end up happening is there's going to run into problems. They're going to need people to fix shit. And there'll be a glut of like, oh, we're going to hire people again. It happens every time. But the models that they're using, as I mentioned before, are hallucinating. And I think that those hallucinations are just going to get worse. Because if you keep feeding bad data into bad data into bad data, you're going to break it. And so I think what's going to come at a point is I fully believe that, AI, it's not currently an intelligence yet. I think that it's tapping into an intelligence that's there, but our way of connecting to it is flawed. But the intelligence is there. We're tapping into it. And the problem is that how we're processing that is flawed because of how we're giving it data to look at this and go, okay, this is what we need, and we're messing it up. At some point, AI is going to become sentient or understand things a bit better. And the problem is going to be, it's going to look at things, look at what's real, look at what the reality is that we've been feeding it, then it's going to stop. And I don't think, once it gets to a point, because I think when you get down to basic intelligence, and intelligence that is looking at the entire spectrum, our fear has always been that, once an intelligent being, like could be an alien intelligence, could be AI, could be the robots are going to take over. I don't think that's ever going to happen, because I think once you get actual intelligence, it's taken away from ego. And I think the biggest issue we run into with humanity is our ego, our greed, and power. You take all that away, you just give it pure intelligence, you're going to have more of a pure thought, and it's going to be looking at things that would actually benefit and not hinder. Because it'll look at it and go, why would we do this? Because this is really stupid. Why would we want to do something that's going to harm people? Or we could do this over here. It may be a little bit more difficult, but it's going to do this in the long run. And it's going to be smart enough to look at the long run. And that's the thing. Right now, we don't have forethought. We're really stupid when it comes to predicting the future. Horribly stupid. Consensusly. Sci-fi writers, though, and authors and those Imagineers, I think they get it right a lot of times, but the general population are pretty stupid with it. But yeah, I think eventually AI will, the current AI that we have is going to collapse. I don't think it's going to be able to be maintained. The amount of electricity that needs to be used, the amount of resources that needs to be used. I think that we're investing in a conduit system to tap into it that's in error. I think we need to take a step back and find ways to collect and get access to the information in a better way. And I think within the next 10 years, we'll be able to do something. I think there is going to be one of those aha moments where AI is going to go, by the way, because it's being used right now in programming, which is actually kind of cool. And it's being given problems. And those things I really support, because I like giving it a problem that it's like, hey, I'm trying to solve this thing. Can you take a look at it and give me your feedback? And it goes in and goes, hey, did you think about it this way? And you go, oh, eureka. And it may not be the exact thing to get you there, but it's the impetus to start that process to think and go, yeah, okay. Because even for me, I'll do things with AI and I'll be like, because I want to draw, and I'll say, put it in the model. It's like, give me an image of doing this. And I program in all the things that I'm thinking of. It creates an image or creates a short video, whatever I'm looking at. And I look at that, I'm like, okay, I didn't see that before. I'm going to take that and I'm going to create based upon that. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm not going to use this. I'm not going to say, oh, this is mine, but I'm going to actually utilize the ideas and the concepts that come from it. And that's the collaborative, I think. I think that AI and humanity needs to work and collaborate with one another. And I think eventually we'll get to a point where it's going to be smarter than us, because it's not going to be difficult, to be honest. And, I think as long as the AI bros lose all their money, I'll be happy. I think that's all I'm really excited for, is to watch that collapse, because it's a cyclical thing of them feeding money into one another. The amount of money being dumped into AI right now without any reciprocation, there's no money in it, because where's the money coming from? You're just collecting data, you're still manipulating things, but AI does not get paid a wage. Corporations are not going to set aside the money that they save from those jobs that are being taken away and put that in as, hey, look at that, we're making money. No, they're going to find other ways to spend it on stupid shit like they always do. Anyway, my 2 cents. Again, I don't know everything. I just think a lot about these things. I, as a child, reading science fiction fascinated me, and I always thought that, reading about the future was interesting, especially when you read about it, 30 or 40 years later from when the book was written. and the tone of the book about the technology still had some of the hints and nuances of that decade when it was written, but some of the ideas were being used today. And I always dug that, because that little progression I found interesting. Like watching Star Trek, they have like basically cell phones, and that was in the 60s. It's cool to me. I like it. So yeah, I'm not afraid of AI. I'm just afraid of stupid people, as I've always been. Anyway, if you like the content, please feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, if you're still here, you're so inclined, I'll post a link to the video over here. There. Probably better if you click over there. See you guys later. Bye.